Britain's attempt to put a positive spin on their nuclear embarrassment is being described as very Soviet by a former senior military officer. Philip Ingram, a retired intelligence colonel, says the MOD describing a submarine misfiring as reaffirming effectiveness makes the UK's nuclear deterrent a laughingstock. HMS Vanguard submarine was taking part in a Trident missile test when the 58-ton dummy nuclear weapon failed to properly launch, landing into the ocean only a couple of yards away. Well, I can now speak with GB News reporter Charlie Peters. Charlie, another bad news day for our beleaguered military, the smallest army since Napoleonic times, the smallest RAF since it was formed after World War I. So few sailors were decommissioning ships, compulsory climate change lessons for those in the Navy, 93 diversity networks, and now Trident about as effective as a firework.
And that's right, Martin. It's the second failure in a row after HMS Vengeance also launched a failing missile in 2016. On that occasion, it was a calibration and telemetry issue, with the missile leaving the submarine off the coast of Florida, and instead of heading southeast towards the waters off West Africa, it headed over the mainland United States and had to be detonated over the land. On this occasion, none of the three ignition stages on the Trident II missile set off, and according to The Sun, the missile just plopped into the sea, not necessarily what they wanted to see on board. And of course, on board, they had the Defence Secretary, Grant Shapps, and the First Sea Lord, Admiral Sir Ben Key, the most senior naval officer in the armed forces. But in reaction, the MOD has said today, 3 weeks after the event, that the demonstration and shakedown operation, this test, had shown that the crew, HMS Vanguard, had proven themselves fully capable. And that's why we got that reaction from Philip Ingram today, that retired senior military intelligence officer, saying that this was a sort of Soviet reaction, because after 2 failed tests and a lack of information some 3 weeks after this most recent failure, many are asking for the MOD to clarify what caused this failure. Was it an issue with the missile? Did that first ignition not go off for a technical fault? Or is it, as former Admiral Chris Parry is claiming today, due to a calibration and actually one of the errors in the testing system itself? He is suggesting, presumably with insider information from naval sources, that it could be an issue with the testing procedure itself. Either way, it's taken this scoop from The Sun for the public to be aware that the continuous at-sea deterrent has failed again to test successfully. Back in October, we do know that a US Ohio-class submarine, the equivalent of the Vanguard class in the Royal Navy, did have a successful test. They use the same Trident missiles as the Royal Navy. We share those supplies from a base in Georgia. But with 2 failures in a row, this is looking precarious for the continuous at-sea deterrence. But Grant Shapps and the MOD says it's business as normal, and he has full confidence in those nuclear submarines.